There's this passage, it's in John 13:35 in the scriptures that talks about Jesus, and Jesus says to people, he says to his followers, he says, by this, all men will know that you're my followers. He says, basically he's saying, this is the way that people will know that you're a Christian. This is the way that people will know that you're one of my followers. And then he says, this is the way, if you love one another. Today, if you ask somebody to describe, well, what do you think a Christian is? A lot of people are going to say judgmental. They're going to use words like they're a hateful group. A lot of them will probably bring up the thing about homosexuality. They'll say, well, they specifically hate gay people. But the bottom line is people bring up hate more than they bring up the fact that Christians are supposedly loving others. And that's because that is the truth. A lot of times, I find it very easy to lose faith in Christianity. And when I say that, a lot of you guys are like, whoa, what's going on here? I'm not talking about losing faith in God. There's a difference between losing faith in God, losing faith in Jesus, and losing faith in the thing that has become Christianity. Christianity today, it's very easy for me to start to lose faith and go like, oh man, what's going on here? There's so many people who have it all wrong, who haven't figured it out, who see somebody in trouble and they're supposedly a Christian, and they just turn the other way, or they say, hey, I'm a Christian, and they're living this really crappy life. And it's like, if you're really a Christian, if you're really a follower of Jesus, you would have realized by now that there is so much more to this kind of life that Jesus brought than you're currently living. And if you just tried it, and you start to ask those kinds of questions, and so again, it's very easy for me to get wound up in those things and to lose faith in this Christianity. I have an uncle, as many of you probably do. I have an uncle named Uncle Matt, and we a lot of times, we didn't these past 2 years, we went to my mom and dad's, but for many years in a row, we would go to my Uncle Matt's house on Christmas Day, and we'd go over to his house and have food and just talk, and we'd usually bring over some of our toys that we had gotten or whatever. And it's probably been about 5 years or so now. We went over, and it was around the time that I personally started really feeling like there's more to life than this. We need to go out and help people. I had met a homeless guy just on the streets of Pittsburgh recently before that, and so I started telling these stories and talking about, we have to do something. We can't just sit around as Christians and just allow these problems to exist. And so, year after year, it was probably just 2 years. The first year I told him the story, and my Uncle Matt's like, man, I'm all fired up. I got to do something. He's like, I just feel like we should just go do something right now. I'm all fired up. And, so we were like excited. We were talking. And, next year, next Christmas, we go back to their house. And we had the same kind of conversations. We have the same kind of conversations. He's like, man, I think we should just do something. We got to get up and do it. And, we had the same conversations, myself included. I'm not pointing the finger at just him, but both of us, we came back a year later and we're like, yeah, we really should do something, and just talking about it, we were excited. But we didn't do anything. It's great to talk about it, and that's what a lot of people do. They sit around and they just talk about Christianity, or they talk about, you should love people, you should love your enemies, Jesus says. But then when it comes down to it, they don't do crap. And that's just the honest truth. And so again, it's easy to lose faith in Christianity. And yet there's these people that sometimes come into my life and that I stumble upon, and sometimes these situations that restores my faith in Christianity in a moment. And one of them is my Uncle Matt, and he has some sons, Luke, Johnny, and Austin. You know what, they came this past Christmas, and he's been telling me this stuff for a year, different things that they've been doing, but this past Christmas, we didn't just come and talk about, man, we got to do something. We didn't just sit around and talk about what we got to do. We had stories, and specifically Uncle Matt and Luke and Austin, they all talked about, going out and just, hey, we're going to go today and just go help the homeless. And they've been doing that. And they said, we really wanted to just bring a homeless person here to dinner today. Come to the party, come to the Christmas party. And then they had some questions about how that would work out. They were kind of thinking like, well, after the party, it would kind of be weird to just say, all right, see ya, and drop them back off under the bridge. So it's still thinking through some of these things, but they're actually going and doing things. They're going and feeding the hungry. They're helping out the homeless. They're doing stuff. And for that, it's those kinds of moments where you just see such beauty and such just what Jesus meant it to be, that you feel your faith in Christianity come back to its fullest. There's another person. Her name is Emily, and she's in my youth group. And there's so many kids today. There's so many kids, and I'm just pointing out her in specific. So if you're another youth and you're like, hey, you didn't mention me, I'm not going to talk about every person, but I want to talk about Emily specifically, just right now, because it's the first person that popped in my head. Emily, there's so many kids today, teens, that specifically, like, when they're dating and stuff, it's like, hey, if he looks good or she looks good, I'm going to date them, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. Hey, I'm young, I can do what I want. And, really, it's just all about them. For a lot of teenagers, and myself included when I was a teenager, it's all about, well, what can I get for myself? What can I do for myself? How can I make myself happy? You don't really look beyond yourself. And again, this is just this instance of this specific girl that I see her and the things that she says, and the things that she does, and she's not conforming to the pattern of a lot of the other teens that are today. She's not just going, hey, it sounds like a good time, so I'm just going to do it. She'll actually say, what, I have values, and I have some stuff I put in place, and I'm not going to cross that line. And so, again, just seeing somebody who's like, what, there's more to life than me. It just restores your faith in Christianity. And so, that's what I kind of wanted to talk about today, is just like saying, there's some of you out there, you're going, oh boy, church and Jesus and all these things. Like, yeah, I've tried that before. Yeah, I went in and put in my time with the Sunday morning service, and I did it, and yeah, it's really that fun doing hymns and all this stuff. You know what? Jesus didn't come to give us a life where we're going to sing songs and just listen to a person speak for 20 minutes. That's not the kind of life that he came to bring. We go in and we sing songs in the church service because we are really, for those who really get it, it's just celebrating. It's celebrating the fact that, wow, I've found this kind of life, and there's nothing else for me to do but at the end of the week just to sing about it, and just to really, when you hear the sermon, it's like, well, how am I going to take something else away? How can I learn more about this? And if you're in a church where it's like, you're just going in, and I've been to churches before where it's like, there was literally a pastor who one time, his sermon was 5 minutes long, and he brought out the book Frog and Toad, and he read from this children's book Frog and Toad, and then he said, and we're kind of like Frog, and he just, that's all it was. It was a real cheesy, just, like eating just mashed potatoes every day lesson where it's just, you don't even have to chew, you just swallow it. If it's like that, get out. Go and do something that's really challenging you. Find somebody who can teach and who can really challenge you to do what you've been called to do. And don't just sit around and say, well, a lot of Christians around me are doing, just the mundane. Let's see if I can just get by. Go and follow the words of Christ. Start to live the things that he says. And specifically, I would challenge you to go out and love your enemies. Go and physically try to love somebody who is mean to you. I promise you that it will change your world. It will change the way that you look at the things that Jesus said. Because a lot of us just like to brush over things, especially the hard things that he said. And he meant everything he said. So grace, peace be with you. I hope you guys have had a great Christmas. Yeah, feel free to leave me some feedback. I'll talk to you guys later.